You're very welcome on to the Matchbook NFL podcast, coming to you this Friday lunchtime. I'm your host, Daniel Hussey, and joined by Brad. Alan, rest assured, Judah will be back joining us next week, but we will be focusing on week 4 action. And Brad has plenty of tips, both prop sides and totals, to get stuck into. Insights.matchbook.com will be a full recap of Brad's bets this week. And if you take 2 seconds to hit that like button wherever you're watching or listening, and last thing, to point you in the direction of our most generous current new customer offer, so exclusive to podcast listeners. Enter the bonus code POD50, get £50 worth in free bets when you bet 50. Brad, we won't spend too long on week 3 takeaways, but what is your main takeaway? Maybe not just week 3, but we're 3 weeks into the season. It's important to be constantly resetting our priors and constantly refreshing where exactly we want to go betting wise each week.
There's a couple of things I thought were interesting looking back. One was there was a note from Pat Thorman, who's like a daily fantasy writer over at Establish the Run, and he had a note saying basically play volume is way down. Only 6 teams are getting to 124 combined snaps a game. And that was league average last year. Only 1 team averaged fewer than 120 plays last year, and 10 teams are under that now. So play volume way down, and his theory was like more short passes, just clock running way more. But I think there's some fairly important read-throughs there. So just there's going to be fewer plays. So I think you want to be careful betting things like over receptions. And I think if you like an over, I would lean towards like longest stuff. Because there's potentially 5-10% less volume than normal. I think you probably also get more variance. We've already spoken about the changes to the kickoffs, more returns, and the fewer plays there are, the more variance there's going to be, but more volatility. So potentially stuff that, Judah's alt lines, betting underdogs on the money line, things like that. Potentially try and take advantage of a bit more variance. And then the other thing I thought stood out this week was, obviously we've spoken a lot about the new kickoff rules, and there's through 3 weeks, the Rams I don't know if anyone's been watching Rams games. I watched that game last week and had the Rams and enjoyed the ending. But yeah, the Rams through 3 weeks, their average opponents are starting on the 21-yard line after kickoffs. They're like knuckleballing it down there, forcing people to return and holding them to good field position. And at the other end, you have people like the Raiders, who are the average opponent start line is the 35. So that's like 14 yards of difference there. It just off the kickoff. So yeah, I think it's got like a decent edge for someone like the Rams. Again, I'd want to be careful betting against them too heavily if they're starting, or opponents are starting 10 yards worse than them on each time they kick off.
And before we get going, and apologies if you haven't watched Thursday Night Football, I only caught the YouTube highlights of Seahawks Cardinals. Was there a kick? Was there the last kick that I saw in the comments actually that said was there a penalty on the kick or anything like that?
I've only seen the YouTube highlights this morning. So
yeah. I just saw a comment, so I was like, I need to go watch that play, see what happened. I think they ended up giving, there was a penalty or flag on the kickoff. They were trying to do some different form of the kickoff, and I can't believe I did the whole introduction of the show there and not mention that insane Rams Eagle. In a word, the worst possible loss in NFL history.
I had some Rams +4. I also had Rams money line from live, so that was good fun. There was. I only remember this. It was like 5 years ago now. I think it was like Chiefs versus Washington, and it was the same thing on like the last play of the game. I think they were trying to pitch it around, and someone picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown to cover the spread. So there's been Hail Marys to cover the spread. It's not the worst one in history. There's been many brutal beats like that over the years.
I don't know. Blocked field goal, return for a touchdown. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think
needlessly as well.
Maybe
lie down.
Yeah, obviously it didn't dawn on me until after. It's like, yeah, he actually took a massive risk there. Well, not massive, but a risk. Main Mets time, and it seems every week, Brad, I'm here defending the Chargers, and they're like the 3-0. Like, have I been impressed with their 2 subsequent wins since the Chiefs? No and yes. I mean, yes, to dig out wins like that against divisional opponents, and particularly last week. But yeah, there were times in that Broncos game where Chargers didn't look great. Is this an anti-Chargers thing? Is this the new quarterback for Giants? Bit of both? What's the angle here?
A little bit of both. Yeah, so obviously we probably all watched that Chargers Broncos game last week fairly closely, given we had bets on opposing sides and things like that. And Nix did miss several deep balls. I mean, that flea flicker, he had two guys wide open down the right side of the field. He picked the more difficult one and then missed him, or dropped. Maybe it was a drop if you're generous, but that wasn't the only like deep touchdown he missed. So I feel maybe the Chargers defense was flattered slightly. So I'm kind of looking for ways to oppose them. Then the offensive side of the ball, I thought Denver did a good job in coverage. And then Mekhi Becton, Chargers right guard. He's been missing practice all week. Obviously, they're already missing their left tackle, Rashawn Slater. Two other offensive linemen are on the injury report. Looks like I expect them to play. But in general, it's a banged up offensive line, and they're facing a Giants defensive line, which is still good, third in the NFL at Brandon Thorne's ranking. So I kind of think the Giants should have some success in slowing them down. So then the question to me was, do you want to do under 44 points? Do you want to do Chargers under, like you can get under 26.5 team total, or is it Giants plus 6.5? And I quite like the new angle of Jackson Dart coming in there. One, you've got to think the team is going to be motivated. Two, they've got Andrew Thomas back at left tackle. He should play the full game. He looked good last week, played, the first half of the game. Should shore up the offensive line a bit. And then, they're probably going to go no huddle with him. That's a lot of what he did in college. Basically, a lot of no huddle and throw deep a lot. That's also what he did. I've got his stats here from somewhere. He had 1,500 yards on throws of 20 plus air yards at Ole Miss last season and 17 touchdown passes, which was one of the best in the nation last year. And he's also mobile on the ground as well. So I kind of feel this is going to be a brand new offense. It's going to be no huddle. It's going to be throwing a lot more downfield, and it's going to be mobile with his legs. Jackson Dart to score a touchdown is around 4.5 at some place, and I think that could be quite fruity. So, yeah, I think just springing something new on this Chargers defense, which might be a shade overrated because of Bo Nix, I felt like that was the best way to get this.
Okay, so and also playing darts, long passes over 31.5.
Yeah, pretty much exactly what we're talking about. He's got a history of throwing deep in college, and the Chargers back end again is maybe a little bit flattered by Bo Nix just missing passes.
Yes, and it's important to give the listeners a bit of insight. I mean, I think Brad had spotted those two open receivers before the replay had come up on my screen anyway. So, yeah, Bo Nix missing, yeah. And yeah, maybe QJ is good, but we'll. I'm not gonna lie, but I've been looking ahead in the schedule. This was I had this down as a win against the Giants. So if they somehow end up losing this now, I think that bubble could be burst already. Sunday night football, I think it is Packers at Cowboys under 47.5. What's the angle here? I mean, we saw Green Bay and probably the shock of the season, isn't it? With, I guess, the stats probably back that up with Cleveland beating Green Bay.
Yes, yeah. This is again offensive line injuries. The Cowboys are going to be missing the right guard and the center. If I can pull that up, this is where it's handy to have Judah, because while he talks, I find the right place in my notes. Cooper Beebe, the center, out. Right guard Robert Booker out. The backup right guard Robert Jones also out. So the Cowboys have been signing guys off the street, and obviously missing CeeDee Lamb out wide. And it's not a good place to be, I think, when you have the Green Bay Packers and one of the very best pass rushes coming in there, led by Micah Parsons, who's going to be a man on a mission, I think, to show Jerry Jones and the Cowboys what they're missing. So I feel quite strongly the Cowboys are going to struggle to move the ball, and you can just go and straight bet the team total under 20.5 or under 19.5 around the place. But I also feel that the Packers might struggle moving the ball, because I mean we saw this a little bit last week. I think their right tackle Zach Toms got injured on the very first play, and then they could not block the Browns. So I mean, the Cowboys defense has been bad, but they're getting Deron Bland back this week. He's been practicing, and he is their best corner by miles, best PFF grade, best everything. And basically, when he went down is when all the real problems started. When Russell Wilson started cooking them. So that shores up the back end a bit. Packers still have injuries on the offensive line. Zach Tom's out. some injuries at receivers. Jaden Reed's going to miss. And obviously, I feel like both teams are going to be full house on fire, playing full commitment for this. And defense is, effort is just quite important. At the end of the day, if you fly around and take on blocks, you create more space for your teammates. So, yeah, I feel Cowboys can't block, aren't going to be going anywhere. Packers are probably a little bit below expectation given their injuries and the return of Deron Bland and full effort. And I feel that combines for a nice bet under 47.5.
Okay, we'll lock that in. That's Sunday Night Football. We'll go to Ravens at Chiefs to give you a second there, Brad, to pop that up. The team this week I've seen in NFL just in general, both these sides, unbelievably, to be fair, 1 and 2 for different reasons. I mean, who's the bigger, which side is it the biggest game for, Brad, Ravens or Chiefs? And then how are you looking for a bet here with Lamar?
Who's it a big game for? No idea. But I mean, both of them. I think it's proper. It's already playoff football, isn't it? The loser goes to 1 and 3, doesn't it? And I feel that gives us a decent angle. I'm looking at Lamar rushing here. So as we're saying, it's kind of a playoff game. So quarterbacks historically more likely to just tuck and run, body on the line. Not like a regular season game. So Lamar, 6 games versus the Steve Spagnuolo defense. A lot of them have been playoff games. But Spagnuolo plays a lot of man, likes to blitz, and obviously playing man against Lamar, it's normally a bad idea because your defenders have got your back to him, and he's going to just tuck the ball and run upfield. So in 6 games, he's run for 122, 54, 107, 83, 46, and 67. And 5 of those are over his line this week of 48.5. So, yeah, I don't really see why he wouldn't go over that again, given, the way that the matchup specifically sets up.
Okay, we'll lock that in, over 48.5 rushing yards, current line on Friday lunchtime. Now we're going to tackle your long shot / bet builder here, and you have a couple of selections to kick that off, Brad, and lead into it. So the Bears at the Raiders. Is this taking on the defenses there, seeing a bit of good signs on offense, obviously, from both sides last week, albeit Raiders, a lot of it was, garbage time. What's the sort of angle here into this game? Because you're probably, if you think the two teams can score here, over 47.5 could be quite a low total.
Yeah, so the defenses statistically are fairly mid, 22nd and 23rd DVOA, and similar grades in PFF. So let's start with the Bears, because I think the Bears are a proper over team at the minute. One, the defense is still poor and maybe worse than those stats. I mean, last week against the Cowboys, they held them to 13, but obviously CeeDee Lamb got injured in that game, and I don't know if they scored a point after that. And I think they had two red zone interceptions.
So in a row, I think, as well, Dak.
Yeah. And one at the end of the game, whoever the backup was in came in and threw a pick. So I still don't think they could. Jalen Johnson out, the slot corner looks like they're going to miss. TJ Edwards, the linebacker, going to miss. So on the season now, they are bottom 10 in explosive play rate allowed. In comes Geno Smith, who is top 5 in terms of aggression, in terms of throwing deep. And he's got a couple of burners on the outside in Trey Tucker. Now the Raiders, they're kind of, I think their fatal flaw again is the offensive line. They can't run block and they can't pass block. But again, this Bears pass rush is fairly non-existent. So I think Raiders rank 4th in explosive play rate. As I say, the Bears defense is bottom 10 in explosive play rate. So I kind of see that linking up for the Raiders to get some explosives. Then on the other side of it, the Bears, Caleb Williams seems to be coming along. He was getting a fair bit of criticism, but for the season now, he's 8th in the league in EPA per dropback. And then they're doing some smart things on offense. Obviously, Ben Johnson's basically coordinating the offense now over from the Lions. He's using play action on 30% of dropbacks, 6th highest rate in the NFL. The Raiders are allowing 10 yards per play, which on play action, 30th in the league. The Bears are also, they're 6th on scripted plays as well. Again, that's another Ben Johnson specialty. So how do we tie it all together? Over points. as I say, we got the Raiders getting explosives, and we've got the Bears offense, which is kind of sneaky top 10 by some metrics against a poor Raiders defense. And then we've got this Geno angle of Geno hitting his explosives, as I said, top 5 in explosive play rate, and the Bears beaten up on the back end. And then if you want to tie them all together in a bet builder, one way to do that would be, so the over the Bears in the first half to take advantage of that script, and then Geno Smith 275 passing yards. And we're kind of thinking of this this game playing out. The Bears score early on their script. Geno's throwing to get back in it. That gets us to about 9-2. Those 3 selections on the bet builder, which I think is a nice look.
Okay, yes, that's actually 5.5. Yeah, I made a mess of the American odds translation there. So just before, I had a question on the Bears offense, but just building a bet there, Brad, it's important to, you've touched on most of this now, but to get the narrative, get the script exactly how you see the game playing out. And instead of maybe back in that 193 shot of over 47.5, you expect the over to come in. You compare with what you Bears get off to that start. Geno's chasing a little bit, and suddenly you've got yourself a 5.5 shot.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I back the over as well as a single. But yeah, I think we spoke about it last week. Sometimes I feel you have a decent feel for a game, how you see a game playing out. And this is one of them. So I'm happy to try and kind of build the script into a bet.
Yeah, and Bears do have that explosive plays in them, don't they? And then they did seem to, like, they weren't relying on DJ Moore there last week for long periods of the game. So there just seems to be options in the wide receiver course. So yeah, could be an over one there. Maybe Judah, if he was listening, he would maybe play some of the alt overs there as well. Who knows? Best bet time, Brad. Actually going to lead you in with this one because I don't know where you're going for. So if you have a one bet on the week 4 card, which way are you leaning towards?
Let's do the Packers under. So I feel like we have edges on both teams total under. So let's do Packers under 47.5.
Okay, we'll lock that in as a best bet. Brad, you won't have at least you don't have a bet you're willing to put up here for the Vikings Steelers watching brief for you in Dublin. I mean, just to give you an insight here, the city is well and truly live at the moment. I'm going to go in there tomorrow and go into the game then on Sunday there, but there's a lot of stuff going around there, and Steelers have really taken to this. So it's a big day in Ireland here, to be fair.
Yeah, rumours that it's going to be a Steelers crowd. Any insight on that one?
Yeah, they're designated home side, and it's black and yellow, I'd say, would be the vast majority of the crowd there. So yeah, I'll be wearing my Chargers jersey. So if you see me, nice. Feel free to say hi. Yeah. So but yeah, I think it'll be mostly Steelers. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, has that name recognition here for a lot of the bandwagon jumping in as well. You know.
Yeah, game wise, Rodgers looks scared of getting hit and has been bad under pressure this year. And then obviously the Vikings send blitzes like crazy and will almost certainly get pressure. So probably a decent matchup on that side of the ball. And then the other side of the ball is tricky. So Wentz, if you watched the game last week, he was fairly bad. Obviously they won by 40 or whatever because they were returning touchdowns, but he did not look particularly good, especially if the first read wasn't open, sort of holding the ball and rumbling about, not being particularly athletic. But the offensive line is healthier. Darrisaw's back at left tackle. The centre, Ryan Kelly's back. And the Steelers' defense was really flattered by the final score last week. Was it the Patriots turned it over 5 times, 4 fumbles? So kind of conflicting. I feel the Vikings should win the game. But then, yeah, as we said, we got Steelers home field. We've got Carson Wentz being bad at football. So it all adds up to a don't know for me, to be honest.
Yeah, and just in the international angles alone, add to first half unders in general, just with people getting to grips with Croke Park. Croke Park's a huge stadium as well, by the way. The fans were going to be a long way away from the action. So just going to be interesting. A lot of unknown factors there. But my thanks to you, Brad. Yeah, really enjoyed that run through week 4, insights.matchbook.com. You get a full recap of Brad's picks, and we can keep track throughout the season of both Brad and Judah's selection. Enjoy the rest of our content. Football out there. Greyhound, Irish Greyhound Derby Saturday night as well. And we'll chat to you this time next week with Judah and Brad. Enjoy the weekend's football. Bye-bye.